The rational side of spirituality, or what we refer to as ruchnius, is as much as a person can manage. Let me explain what that sentence means. It's essentially a person should try to relate to Hashem, to Ruchnius, to Skarva Onesh, to Olam Haba, as rationally as they can. What I mean by rationally is that it's reasonable and it's part of my life in a way that doesn't require making a big leap of faith. There's plenty of room for leaps of faith. But at the core of our spiritual lives, it is meant to be real or rational. The Rambam makes a big fuss about the fact that we're supposed to think rationally. But let me just break this down for a moment. There are some people that have worked out their reality so that they know that Hashem runs the world. Let me put it in other terms. If you were to hear that a good person had some challenges, or that a bad person had a good life, how would you react? Would you react as, well, Hashem runs the world, I don't understand, I don't need to understand, everything's good? That's one way to handle the problem. I don't know, and I don't need to know. Hashem runs the world. And there is a certain emunah pshuta in that, which works. Doesn't work for everybody. And it's not necessarily durable when a person actually goes through challenges. There's another approach. And that other approach was taken by none other than Moshe Rabbeinu himself, who wrote Sefer Iyov to try to address the question of why righteous people suffer. So you see that there's a broad range where there are those who don't even ask the question. It doesn't bother them. They live in a world of spirituality which does not beg the question of, can I understand this? Can this make sense to me? And there are others who need, as much as possible, who need an explanation. And none of those should be considered the wrong way to approach one's spiritual life. None of those are wrong. But a person needs to always be teasing themselves closer and closer towards a rational sense. Of course, Hashem runs the world, and here's how I know that He runs the world. We've been talking about the fact that we have dates in our calendar where events take place and are predicted to take place, as in, for example, Tisha B'Av, where events take place. What does an event have to do with a date? And the answer is, if you think about it rationally, you'll start realizing that, of course, Hashem runs history. And you can just rely on the fact that dates and events come together. So we're always trying to push ourselves a little bit more, nudge ourselves throughout our lives in the direction of a rational sense of the spiritual world. If people say, for example, well, you can't prove the spiritual world, it's all speculation, a person should be able to say, for me, it's not. For me, it's not speculation. For me, it's very concrete. It might be speculation for you, and you would have to make a leap of faith. But that was the major theme of Rav Noach Weinberg when he developed his approach to outreach, to Kiruv. He was always pushing the idea you don't need a leap of faith. You need to be a rational person. Now, that might be a bit of a extreme leap because some people do need a leap of faith. But what he's saying in effect, is a very useful and an important foundation. And that is we should be pushing ourselves towards a simplicity, a rational simplicity. I didn't make the tree grow. I can't make trees grow. Hashem made the tree grow. And therefore, when I go to make a bracha over the new Elon, over the new tree that is budding, that is flowering in the spring, I acknowledge a fact that for me is very clear. Somebody else would say, I'm so stuck in the world of natural causality, and I've so bought into the world of biology that for me it's a leap of faith. That's where you are up to. And you must accept, that's where I am up to. So, for example, if a person says, I know that a certain action is good for me spiritually, and its opposite is bad for me spiritually. This mitzvah is good for me spiritually, and this Aveira is bad for me spiritually. There are people who have a lot of experience, who have tried both, and who can report, I'm not just believing that because I have made a leap of faith that this action is good for my spiritual life and this action is bad for my spiritual life. I know it, tested it. I know that this is a reality for me. And whenever we go to say something about reality in our spiritual world, there's always a little voice of some nudnik who says, but you can't prove that A caused B spiritually. Well, you also can't prove that I like vanilla ice cream. I just do. And so the person nudging themselves in that direction, in the direction of having their spiritual lives grounded in their reality, is something that most people don't necessarily consider to be a requirement of their spiritual existence. But it is. We're not supposed to remain in the state of, well, I can't really prove anything, but I believe if maybe there's some things that you can prove. Maybe there's some realities that you can live with and that you can know. And so this push in that direction, in the direction of having it be your reality, is actually part of a healthy person's spiritual life. Should not be always remaining in the place of, I just believe. Why do I believe? Leap of faith. Because leaps of faith, first of all, are not terribly durable. They don't do very well under pressure. And leaps of faith are always stronger if beneath them there is a layer that is concrete and rational. So the leap of faith is fine, but when it's built on the shoulders of something that is concrete and rational, it's far stronger. So the message from tonight is, don't leave your spiritual life to be a leap of faith. Some of it is going to end up being a leap of faith. That's fine. But if all of it is a leap of faith, then you should be pushing yourself more and more towards concretizing, towards getting some things absolutely clear so that they are not negotiable. They are simply our reality. And when you do that, then the leaps of faith have a lot more to grab onto. They aren't kind of fluff and sitting there in the air. They are concrete, they are reality, and Hashem's existence should not be for me simply a leap of faith. Hashem's existence should increasingly be part of my rational system of living.